there is a world out there where like maybe this might be not, detrimental.
All right, I want to start out this video by posing a question to all of you watching. How much money do you think you waste per month? And be honest with yourself, because I know that we can all take a step back, look at our bank accounts, and pick out a few purchases that probably weren't necessary. And that's not to say that those are bad purchases or that you're screwing up financially if you buy a few things that aren't quite necessary. But it's just to take a step back and realize that there are a few things out there that might just be a waste of money. And today in this video, we're gonna be ranking those on a nice, neat tier list. So let's get on into it. Alrighty, here we are over on my computer. We have this tier list pulled up. And this tier list is me graded on a scale from actually good to no problem to this might be an issue to a big waste and then literally lighting it on fire. So let's start out with our first item. And that first item is going to be none other than the coffee expense. And if you guys have been around the personal finance community at all and you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably heard the don't spend money on your $6 lattes, you latte breath loving, whatever Dave Ramsey says.
And so let's just establish here that you can find $100 latte breath.
The latte or the coffee in general is the scapegoat in the personal finance realm for wasting money. And the theory behind it is, why would you go out to a coffee shop, spend 8, 9, 10, even maybe more than that dollars on a fancy little drink when instead you could go to the grocery store, buy the ingredients, the coffee grounds, the syrups. You can make it at home for literally a fraction of the cost of what you'd spend at the coffee shop. And that's all fine and dandy. It makes perfect sense, right? You save a little bit of money on everyday expenses. But I think of this a little bit differently because again, it's a little expense, and even though it can add up to a lot of money over time, if you get value from going to a coffee shop and you enjoy your little lattes, maybe it makes you more productive because you go there and you do your work or you read a book or whatever it is you want to do at the coffee shop. I think that that could be a valuable expense, especially if it's something that you really enjoy doing. And in the grand scheme of things, your $6, $7 latte, even if you have it every single day, isn't gonna end up being a ton of money, right? There's bigger expenses that you can waste a heck of a lot more on. And so for this first one, the coffee, I'm gonna put it in the no problem category. All right, so there's our baseline. Coffees are a no problem. Moving on to our next one, and that's gonna be going out to the club, the bar, spending money on liquor, entrance fees, anything like that. Now this one is similar to the coffee, but I think it's a little bit different. And the main difference between a coffee and a bar tab is a coffee, even though it's a drug, could be a good drug and it's not bad for you. It's not a toxin, right? And alcohol, on the other hand, is. And that's not even to mention that alcohol in general costs a heck of a lot more than coffee does. So if you're making this every weekend occurrence, you're probably running up a pretty big bar tab. And if you're spending maybe, $100 a weekend on alcohol, right, it's not going to be that much money in the grand scheme of things. But it's also the fact that you're going to feel like absolute dog water the next morning, right? You're not going to be as productive. You're going to feel like trash. You're not going to get much stuff done. And I think that is the biggest kicker behind this. It's kind of a waste of time. Now, that might just be my personal opinion. It's not really my thing to, go out to the club and spend a lot of money on booze. So I think this might be a bigger waste of money than maybe some other people do, but for those reasons, I'm gonna put this into the big waste category. Okay, moving on to the next one, that's gonna be gambling, and this can include any sorts of gambling, whether sports betting or blackjack or slots, whatever your vice is, that's gonna fall in this category. And don't get me wrong, I like myself a little gamble. I get the adrenaline rush, right? It's a great time. I play some poker with my friends from time to time. We play some blackjack. It's a great time. And that's exactly what it is. It's a good time. It's entertainment. It is not some money-making scheme for 99.9% of people who do it, right? And it could be a big sinkhole because it's a very addictive thing to get into. You hear stories all the time about people who lose thousands and thousands of dollars. They lose their life savings, they lose their house, they break up relationships all over gambling because it's like a hit of dopamine every time you do it, and you just chase those losses and they can compound and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so this is a very detrimental thing to do. But keeping it, light, you do it sometimes for fun, you know your limits, it's not going to be the end of the world. And so I think there's two schools of thought. On one hand, it can be used as an entertainment expense, just like any other form of entertainment, whether you like to play golf or go to the movies. It could be that for you, or it could be very, very detrimental. And for those two reasons, I'm going to put it in the might be an issue, probably very close to a big waste of money. Now, moving on to our next one, that is going to be convenience, grocery store, little snack goods. Now, I want to put this right next to the coffee because it's a very similar thing. If you like to wake up in the morning and on your way to work, you stop at the gas station and you get a $2 soda and a $1 donut, right? And that brings you joy. It's very similar to the coffee. If you like doing that, it makes you feel good. It gets the day started off on the right foot. I see absolutely no problem with that. And so I'm going to put it in the no problem category. Now, with the caveat that most of the times these things are very unhealthy. So if we were doing a health tier list, this would probably be, in the bottom tier. So keep that in mind. But when it comes to strictly the personal finance side of this, if it's something that brings you joy, I see no problem in it. All right, moving on to the next one. This is going to be rent. And I kind of want to take this from the angle of like luxury rent, spending a little bit too much than what you can afford, because obviously everybody needs a place to stay. And if you're not want to stay in your parents' basement, you're probably going to need to either rent or buy a place. And I fell victim to this very early on. Right after I graduated from college, I moved back in with my parents and I stayed in their basement for a year while I tried to figure out, what I wanted to do with my life. And so after that year was up and I wanted to get an apartment, I had a lot of money saved up, ready to go for this move. And it ended up being the case where I moved into an apartment that was maybe a little too nice than what I needed at the time. It was a brand new construction, it had a nice gym, the apartment was nice, it had a marble countertop island. Like, I fell in love with the place, it was super nice, but for a single person, that's 21, 22 years old, right? It's not what I needed at the time. It was way more, and I was spending a little bit too much money than what I, could have gotten if I would have went for another option. And this trickles into the big expenses in your life, right? Rent takes up a very large portion of your income each and every month. And so making good decisions with where you're living and how much money you're spending on rent and utilities and things like that is going to make a big difference in the long term when it comes to your finances. So even though everybody needs a place to live and it's a core staple of living your life, if you're spending above what you should be spending on rent and you can't quite afford spending that extra amount on these luxury, high-end, new build apartments, then I think it might be an issue. If you can afford them, obviously totally fine, but for a lot of people out there, these luxury apartments aren't probably where they should be staying. Next up is impulse purchases, especially online like Amazon, where it's very easy to, click two buttons and boom, an item arrives at your door tomorrow. And I like shopping on Amazon just as much as the next guy, but I realized that making it so easy to spend money and having items, come to your door instantly and getting that instant gratification is probably not the wisest idea. It's way too easy nowadays to realize you're missing something, hop on the internet, and 2 seconds later it's arriving at your front door. Like, this was especially true when I first moved out into my new apartment and I started to realize that I didn't have anything that I needed, right? From like, kitchen utensils to, pots and pans to bedding to whatever it was that I was missing. I would just hop on Amazon and I would just buy it. And, you do that, every day for like a week, and then now you have everything, but there's a big hole in your pocket. And a lot of these needs are actually wants. Like, do you actually need a third baking dish? Probably not, right? But when it's so easy to just get one and it's not that expensive, then why not just get it? But these expenses add up very quickly. That's why I think subscribing to the idea of the wait a day before you purchase something, especially when shopping online, is a great idea. And if you guys don't know what that is, the theory behind it is basically if you're on Amazon and you see something that you really, really want, add it to your cart and then step away and wait a full 24 hours. And if you still want it after those 24 hours, hop back online and purchase it. And this cuts a lot of the impulse out of the buying, right? Because I feel like we buy a lot of things because we need it in the moment. But if we just took a step back and thought about it for a little bit longer, we realized that we don't actually need it all that much. We just needed it for that one task that'd be helpful yesterday, but today, we don't actually need it. And for all of those reasons, I think I'm going to put the impulse purchases in the might be an issue because there's strategies to combat that, and some items that you actually need, you can purchase online, right? And they could be helpful, but a lot of them aren't. So this might be an issue for you. It might not be. We're going to put it there. Okay, next up, we got some red lights flashing in the background. That's going to be late fees and interest payments. Where do we start with this one? Late fees and interest. You should probably avoid it. Obviously, there's cases where if you're struggling with money, you might get a late fee. You might have to have a loan on certain things. I get that. But if you're getting late fees and you're taking on interest voluntarily, like if you're just forgetting to fund your checking accounts and the money's getting pulled out and you're getting overdraw fees, or you're forgetting to pay your rent and you're getting late fees attached to that, or you're taking out stupid car loans with a high interest on it, that might be pretty stupid. These are very avoidable payments that you just don't need to be making, and they're things that are just kind of sitting in the shadows that you don't really pay much attention to. A lot of the times it doesn't look like a lot of money, but especially interest, you're not paying a lot of money, but you're paying it for like 6 years or maybe even longer at this point. And so these are the absolute number one wealth killer. I hate this for a lot of people. If you're in this situation where you're paying these constantly, just try your best to get out of it. I know you can. But this is lighting money on fire. All right, moving on to DoorDash, Uber Eats, food delivery services in general. This is also pretty stupid, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, I rarely ever use food delivery services, but over like the past year, there's a couple of times where I've been dead sick, like laying in bed all day, could barely get out of bed. And because of that, I did some DoorDash and got some food delivered to my apartment. And my orders for that, especially I did McDonald's one day, and usually I can go to McDonald's and I can get like 2 McChickens, a Big Mac, a large fry, and it's like $5, right? If I use the app. And if you ordered that on DoorDash or the McDelivery thing, it's like $40. It's unbelievably stupid how much money is added onto these delivery fees. They up the prices on everything. It's ridiculous. Like, I was literally physically in pain, and this put me more in pain looking at how much money I was gonna have to spend for like a large fry. It was like $20 for like a large fry and a McChicken. I mean, that's ridiculous. So if you're somehow doing this multiple times a week, I don't know how much money you make, but I really want your job and your paycheck, because I don't know how it's possible to afford this more than one time like a year. It's kind of bonkers to me. Like, if you just like get up, drive to the fast food place and order it there, you're probably gonna save so much money. Even if you drive like a semi diesel truck and it's like $40 in gas to drive a mile to the nearest McDonald's, you're still probably going to save money. And for those reasons, lighting money on fire is where this one's going to go. All right, moving on to the next one. This is going to be a car payment or leasing a new or new-ish car. This is another one of those things that could be totally fine for some people, could be absolutely detrimental for others. Like, if you're a high-end salesman, right, and you're making a lot of money on commission, and having a good image when you pull up to these sales deals is a big deal for you and it helps you land a couple extra sales, then leasing a brand new car or buying a brand new car might be totally worth it for you. Now, that's like 1% of the population, maybe under that. The rest of you out there, I don't know why we're buying or leasing new cars. Like, if you just make a lot of money and you really like cars and you just want the newest technology out there, like, so be it. Like, do whatever you want, right? But if you're buying, leasing a new car and it's like really putting a damper on your finances and you're like stressed about money and you have like a $900 car payment a month, that's like more than your rent, I mean, put two and two together, right? That might be a big issue. And so for the majority of people out there, having a car payment, leasing a new car, big waste of money. I mean, you can just buy a used car, a slightly old car. I mean, you can still get like a 2019 really nice car for a fraction of the amounts as going out and buying a new car. And, you know, especially just pay cash for like, and then you avoid all the interest and yada, yada, yada. Big waste of money. We're going to leave it at that. All right, next up is a funny one. That's going to be in-app purchases and microtransactions. Now, for the longest time, I refused to believe that anybody actually bought this stuff or fell for like this garbage, right? But I mean, these companies have these as their main source of revenue for a reason, right? A lot of people spend money on this junk. And I really just don't understand it. Number one, it's so expensive in like any game. I mean, to like get like a little bit extra help, it's like $100. It's bonkers. I mean, you see these Clash of Clans videos I used to watch, and people are like gemming their town halls a couple levels, and they're spending thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars, and their walls are still like 8 levels under leveled. And doesn't it just take a lot of the fun out of the game? Like, aren't you supposed to, you know, like work and play the actual game to level up? Like, isn't that like the whole point? Isn't that where like the fun is? I don't understand just like purchasing your way to the top. I mean, I guess that's capitalism, but like it blows my mind. It like ruins the whole point of the game. And like 99% of the times, you probably won't even be playing this game like 6 months from now. And so you're spending a fist ton of cash on this stupid game, and you probably gonna forget about it in like 2 weeks. And for that reason, we're lighting money on fire if we're doing this. All right, the next one is gonna be premium apps. You know, buying the paid version. You know, sometimes there's free versions of apps, and then you can upgrade to the paid version. That's gonna be this category. All right, so this is kind of like a reflection of myself, because I used to be the type of person that would only ever use the free versions of things. Like if there was a free alternative to something, I would strictly use that, because I thought that spending money on something that you can get for free is stupid and a waste of money. But there's definitely things out there that's totally worth it to spend a couple of bucks on and pay for it and get a way better experience. I mean, there's like fitness apps that, you know, help you with your workouts and designing what lifts to do. There is like AI tools. I pay for ChatGPT now because it lets me, you know, generate more images. It lets me use their better models for work and stuff like that. A lot of things like that that are totally worth spending money on, and it relieves a ton of the headache and stress and, you know, workarounds that you have to do with all of these stupid free versions that they give you. And so even though you could probably get away with using the free version, your stuff's probably going to be lesser quality. You're probably going to have to deal with a couple of headaches. You might have to watch those stupid ads in their app. And so upgrading to premium versions of apps and spending, you know, a little bit of money on this, I think could actually be a good thing. So we finally got a actually good item on the list, but let's move on to the next one. That's gonna be buy now, pay later. And I love how the concept of the loan went from like, you only borrow money to pay for massive purchases like a house with your mortgage, right? And now we've trindled down to now you use it to pay for a car, and then now you use it to pay for a boat and for like a bike, and now you use it to literally pay for fast food. We're now using buy now, pay later, whether that be Klarna or Afterpay or whatever company is like offering this service for literally every purchase everywhere. There's always this option to use when you check out.
Every purchase, everywhere, every single day. So ask yourself, what's in your wallet?
And I know a lot of them advertise like 0% interest, right? As long as you make your payments every time on time, there's not going to be any penalty. And that sounds, you know, great in theory, but judging off what a lot of people do with their personal finances, a lot of people miss payments. They forget about them. They don't have enough money to cover it, right? That's why they're doing the buy now, pay later in the first place. And so they get behind, and then they get charged interest on interest on interest. And usually that can add up to a lot of money. And the way that I look at this buy now, pay later stuff is literally inviting the vampire into your home and then praying that he doesn't suck your blood, right? Pretty stupid. And even though taking out a loan can be beneficial and oftentimes necessary for big purchases like your mortgage for your house and whatnot, taking out a loan to buy a burger from Five Guys and a stuffed animal from Amazon is a terrible waste of money. And so we're going to put this in a big waste category. And the only reason this isn't going directly on the light on fire category is because a lot of them I do know are 0% interest until you miss a payment. And so there is a world out there where like maybe this might be not, detrimental, right? And that's the only reason it's going in the big waste category. All right, next up is going to be subscriptions. And this is another one of those coffee things where this is oftentimes used very often and repeatedly in the personal finance community. So let me give you my take on the matter. Now, I assume that a lot of you, probably every one of you, has some sort of subscription. I've got a couple, right? I've got YouTube subscription, I got Spotify, I got Audible, I got a gym membership, right? Subscriptions are basically the way of the future. That's how you pay for things in today's day and age. And subscriptions by themselves are not inherently bad. Most of them, are no problem. A lot of them are actually pretty good. I feel like where the problem comes in is a lot of people have, overlapping subscriptions. They have multiple streaming services. Maybe they have Spotify and Apple Music for some reason, or they got Netflix, HBO Max, and Hulu, and they really only watch stuff on Netflix, right? And so I feel like oftentimes you're paying a big subscription bill for a lot of different services and not actually using them to the extent where it'd probably be necessary to justify the expense that you're making on it. And I'm not a hater on subscriptions, believe me. If you like Star Wars and you want to get a Disney Plus subscription to watch Star Wars, then get the Disney Plus subscription and watch Star Wars. Like, that is no issue. It's just that it could be an issue if you've got a lot of things, maybe you forget to cancel them, and you're paying a lot every single month and you're never even using it. That's the only issue with subscriptions. And so as long as you're canceling subscriptions that you're not using and you're taking account, like, am I actually getting enough value from this to justify the subscription cost, because they can be quite expensive these days, it's probably no problem. But because it might be a problem, we're going to put that in the might be an issue category. All right, we only got a couple left here, but the next one up is going to be upgrading your flashy new gadgets. Now, everybody loves the new iPhone. Everybody loves the new computer, right? Like, right behind this camera, I've got like a $4,000 PC. Like, I'm a big fan of flashy, shiny new objects. Like, I fall victim to that too. And there's absolutely nothing wrong than wanting new things and enjoying having nice new things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The only thing that could be wrong with that is that wanting a flashy new thing very often after just getting a flashy new thing. Like, do you really need the new iPhone 17 when you had the iPhone 16 6 months ago, and then the 15, 6 months before that, right? Do you need to be upgrading every, short amount of time? Probably not. For example, in my case, this brand new PC, it was a lot of money, but I'm going to be using this thing. I use it literally every single day, and I will be using it for at least the next 5 years, maybe even beyond that if it can keep up. And so as long as you are not, overindulging on new technology and new fancy things, I think it's probably not that big of an issue, but it could be if you let it. All right, next up are fitness classes, gym memberships, yoga retreats, things like that. First things first, do you need a fitness class to get in shape? No, you can do push-ups and sit-ups in your living room and probably be healthier and stronger and fitter than 99% of America. And if you're somebody that subscribes to that idea and that idea alone, and you think everything else is stupid, then you might have an issue, because if joining a fitness class or a gym is what gets you up, it gets you excited and motivated about, working out and improving your health, then I'm all for that. That's great. Spending money on your health and well-being is never a bad expense. Obviously, you can go way overboard, but that's probably not what you're going to be doing in the fitness realm. And so I think that spending money on your health, always a good thing. I'm going to put this in the actually good category. Next up is going to be online courses. And this one also has two schools of thought in it. On one hand, there's a lot of online courses out there, and they're usually quite expensive to get, and a lot of people don't finish them. The material might not be, entirely up to date or accurate. And so you might be getting something that, you didn't want, or you're never going to finish and you're not really getting value from. And in that case, you probably shouldn't be wasting money on courses that, are not certified, are not giving you value. On the other hand, though, there's online courses out there that are very good. Like, you can learn investing basics, right? You can learn how to, be a software person. You can learn how to video edit or run a YouTube channel or a business. And a lot of courses, as long as you take them, you spend the money on them, you take them seriously, and you get the value from them, then I see no issue with that. That could be a good thing. And so since this can go really either way, and it's kind of up to you on whether or not you're doing your research and you're actually, getting value from the course, I'm gonna put this in the no problem category. Alrighty, next up here are buying starter things and then having to replace them. Now, this one's probably a little to each their own. My personal opinion is I'm the type of guy that buys it once, buys it right, and keep it for as long as possible. Like for me, I take a lot of pride and I value things that I use very often. Like I already mentioned my PC. Another one is my bed. I bought a very nice, expensive bed because I sleep in it every day, and sleep is a very important thing. And so if that's going to be something that I'm going to have for a long period of time, why not get like the best of the best? And I mean, the thing's probably going to pay for itself. I mean, especially because I could have bought, a $200 mattress and like a box spring or something like that, and I would have probably had to replace it in 2 years. But the one that I have is probably going to last me a very long time. I love it, and it's very good. And that's kind of the mindset I take when I buy, bigger purchases. And I find oftentimes that when you buy cheap things, you get it, you really hate it while you have it, and then it breaks and you got to get another one. And so I like to avoid that headache altogether. I like to buy it once and buy it very nice. And so I think that buying starter goods, knowing you're going to have to replace them, might be an issue, probably closer to a waste of money. Alrighty, and the last one that we have for this tier list is going to be buying a house. This has become a very divisive topic in the finance space over the past, decades, because housing has become a lot more expensive and a lot more out of reach for the average person, trying to buy a house. You have a lot of people that say you shouldn't rent because, you're throwing away money, and instead you should be investing in a house, and that way, you're building equity and having a place to stay. It's kind of killing, two stones with one bird. And on the other hand, you have the people that are like, actually owning a house is much more expensive than you think, because then you have to do all of the maintenance, and the roof costs money, and the floor costs money, and everything costs money, property taxes, everything like that. And you'd be better off renting instead. And like with all things in life, I think somewhere right in the middle of those two is probably the right mindset. Like, yes, the money you spend on rent, you're never going to see again. You're not building equity in the house that you're renting. And yes, there's a lot of hidden costs that most people don't take into account when they're first looking to buy a house. But I think if you're smart about it, you save up money for a down payment, you get a good interest rate on your loan, and you don't buy too much house than you can afford, I think there's definitely a right way to buy a house, and you can definitely make it happen. Especially if you fall in love with the house, you love the area, you plan to stay there for years, right? You get good terms on the loan, right? You have enough money, it's not going to give you a big headache, especially when things inevitably go wrong and you have to pay to fix them. That's totally fine. Then just buy the house, be happy in it, and love what you have. But if you're gonna rush into it because you hear on the internet that rent is just throwing away money, and you buy way too much house, you can't afford it, it causes you stress and anxiety, that is a awful purchase, a big waste of money, almost lighting it on fire. And so buying a house, I'm gonna put in the might be an issue category. All right, there you have it. That's my tier list of the biggest wastes of money that you commonly hear. Let me know what you guys think about my tier list down below in the comments. If you would have changed some things around, if you would have flipped the entire tier list on its head and I'm completely out of my mind, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, consider leaving a like on it. I'd really appreciate it. It'd be great. Or maybe subscribing to the channel. That could be cool as well. But that's all I got for you guys today. Really hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.